Well, first of all, his smile. I mean, he has a perfect smile, his charisma behind it. He's fun to be around, laughable. He's very personal in terms of just having fun and enjoying the process of everything that's around him.
Well, he's kept that big personality, that big smile. He's very passionate about the game of basketball. He's a great teammate. He's just a fun person to be around, and he cares about winning, but he also cares about the individuals on our staff and our team.
It was crazy to see such a young man in such amazing shape go through something as serious as a heart attack. And he's so lucky that, the trainers and the staff on the team were equipped and prepared to handle that and were able to literally save his life. Um, I also just really loved getting to see his personality, his motivation, and he just took everything in such stride. When he found out that, like, this is it, I'm not going to be able to play basketball again, he just took it with such stride and was like, we're going to focus on school, we're going to do this is what we're going to do. And then obviously, it hit him how much basketball meant to him and what a pivotal role it had played, how much of his life and time he had dedicated to the sport. And of course, he's going to grieve that. But he's in recovery and he's doing so well. And it has a really happy ending, which I'm so glad. But yeah, this is a really impactful piece where, this really could have gone much differently. And I thought it was really well produced. I thought the interviews were great.
You get the tale from the man himself, but his community that surrounds him in this moment, when everything you've worked for can disappear at a moment's notice, and knowing that the future that you had planned for is no longer part of this plan. It can leave you devastated. This is the journey of a recovery road. A man determined to get back on what he was told that he should give up. This dives into the doctors and trainers who help build these athletes back up, coming back from death and getting back to a point that you weren't so sure that you were able to get back from, and most of all, being grateful for that experience.
You have a near-death experience being documented in this piece for Vince, a college basketball player at USC. And this documentary relives that journey, and while also giving acknowledgement to the trainers that assisted through that process of getting him back into playing shape. You get to see his individual perspective, his team's individual and coach's individual perspective. And I think the overall message for this is we see how this experience changed his perspective immensely when it came to the idea of basketball. And there's this heightened sense of gratitude after going through an experience like that one where you are at risk to never be able to participate in the pursuit of your passion. It can really affect you mentally, and to get that ability to pursue his passion back in what seems like an almost miraculous fight will definitely change your perspective on just how you view your passion and probably the dedication that you put into it.
It was really nice to learn about Vincent and his comeback, and I'm so happy he pulled through. The interviews were conducted very well. Everybody communicated so nicely. The interviewers, the interviewees, obviously just did a great job here. The most striking moment in the story was when the coach says he went up for a rebound, and he usually rebounds. He usually smacks. Usually there's an impact of some sort. And when he went up for the rebound, it was just, he sensed something different in his player's technique. He could sense something different in his player and called him over. And he said, I could just feel it in my heart. So like, what a good coach. That is the ideal coach who just really knows his players that well and can tell when, he could tell very early that this young man was in duress. And yeah, and just the medical staff was there to help. And, it was like the other guy was saying, it's like the medical staff doesn't get enough credit. It's like, thank goodness these people were there, the coach and the medical staff, to be able to save him, resuscitate him. So, and everybody likes a comeback story, and, especially when it's real, when it's an absolute true story like this, so it was really nice to see Vincent was able to return to the game. And
I really love the vibes of the film, this kind of vibe that you never have to give up, even if everything is against you, even if your own body is against you. You just keep dreaming, keep believing, because there's always the chance to come back and do what you're supposed to do. I really, in fact, the part where we have the cardiac arrest, I think it's a very powerful moment, and obviously it's probably the toughest thing that can happen in somebody's life. I mean, the main character in the documentary really was dead for a few minutes, and then he managed to come back, and just in a matter of months go back on the field and play again. I think this is very powerful. This is a real example of power, human power, and how powerful a human being can be if he or she, they just believe it. And overall, there was also a great direction, excellent and beautiful cinematography.
I really loved the way that it was kind of presented in this kind of gentle way, from at least that's how it felt as I was watching it, with, obviously there were pictures of, him, but then kind of like hearing his perspective, and then, his head coach, the assistant coach, like hearing their kind of like them walking through that day first and foremost, and then kind of taking on the rest of it. And I thought that that was such a great way to present it, because then it didn't make the story about that one single event. That was just the beginning, and the story itself is about how he navigated everything afterwards and getting back to the court and getting back to basketball. And I think that that's such a powerful message of not letting something huge and life altering be your main story point. It can just be the beginning of your story. And like I said, I really liked it. I thought it was told in a really, like I said, gentle way. And when you're talking about something so big and so traumatic, I thought that that was like a really good way to kind of approach it. And obviously being able to hear his experience was really valuable and really amazing to hear. And, getting that kind of outside perspective of his coach and his assistant coach, of like what they were experiencing, like what they saw, and how kind of the practice built to that, and then going through and having him explain what he was feeling and everything else, I thought was really amazing. And like I said, just a well done way to build it, a well done way of telling the story.
I am glad he was able to recover and is still in recovery and going strong 7 months later, because that has to be a very terrifying thing for a college student, especially college athlete, to go through, is to have a heart attack. We normally don't think of people his age having heart attacks, and for him to have a whole team with athletic trainers, coaches, all that standing behind him for his recovery is something that I think really aided in his healing and will continue to aid him. Story does bring to light about the cardiac arrests of athletes, that they do happen. They're rare, but they do happen. And to show what the heart of one person can go through to do what he wants to do with his life, which is play basketball.